Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 5th Radnor Township School District Facilities Committee meeting. First item on the agenda is the introduction and administrative remarks. Are there any remarks?
Yes, Michelle and Meredith will not be in attendance tonight. Just a couple remarks. Last time we met, we talked about the tri-party agreement, North Wayne Field, and the parking spots out in front of the admin. I have been in the contact with the township. We will be invited to any meetings that they have regarding North Wayne Field, the tri-party agreement, and I left a message today with Bill Gallagher regarding the parking spots, but I did not have a return phone call, which is understandable considering it was only today. So I just wanted to catch up with some of those questions that I was able to answer from our last meeting we had.
Do you have a written summary of those remarks? Because I'm not sure I got everything right, and I don't want you to have to say it all again.
No, I do not, okay. But I can get you one.
I'll ask you later.
Okay.
Our committee did not meet in November, so the next item is the approval of the October minutes. I did not see anything in them that I thought was egregious, so I believe the minutes stand as read. And we need to loop back to the second item on the agenda, which is public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? I should probably mention that one of my colleagues is not well and one of them is working, so.
Can we hold a meeting with that few?
Right, because this isn't a business meeting, this is a committee meeting.
Okay. A committee of one tonight. Good evening, Cindy Spurtle, 106 Valley Forge Terrace, Wayne. A couple comments on the items that are on the agenda this evening. And I wanted to go back, since it's been a while since Facilities has met, and go over the capital improvement plans for 17-18, closing out 17-18 and the 18-19. And three of the items on the agenda tonight were not on the capital improvement plan listing that was approved with the budget back in May, and I went through, I believe, till February or March of this year. And that is the high school stage repairs. I tried to look carefully at everything that was listed. Security camera upgrades and truck replacement, so I will be interested in hearing about those since none of them were on the original plan. And also, I wanted to, following the meeting of the full board on November 28th, there was a request made by the former president or vice president of the board, Susan Michelson, that a letter be proposed in time for a public discussion before decision on the PLO by the Radnor Township commissioners. And it's my understanding that this coming Monday, there will be a meeting for a final decision on that. But I don't see any letter for discussion on tonight's facilities meeting. And that's the request was made. So again, I'm asking if that will be added to tonight's agenda. And also, I believe the three items to be discussed or to be covered in that letter were Ordinance 475, tax exempt status of the new property, and what school properties were to be included in that ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bertle.
Good evening, Judy Sherry, Governor Circle, Newtown Square. Just have two major comments. I would say that reviewing the minutes, I feel like there are issues that were brought up in the past that haven't been responded to, but I'll save those for another day. My first question is, why isn't it better to select our own facilities for graduation? It would seem like convenience, cost, and the fact that these are Radnor graduates graduating from Radnor High School would be top considerations for a decision. And as I mentioned, when I called Conestoga, who used their own field last year, they felt that it worked out great, the best reviews we've ever gotten. So I'd like to understand why the Leocoris Center was chosen over Radnor Fields. And my second comment is also about the PLO proposed amendment. I'd like to know what the position of the school district is regarding the PLO amendment that will be voted on December 11th. And why hasn't the school board been open and transparent about the proposed changes to this zoning and the anticipated impact it could have on students, parents, teachers, and taxpayers? For example, one analysis of the amendment proposal predicts an additional 7,100 new vehicle trips per day on King of Prussia Road. Clearly, if true, that would impact students and parents at the least. This issue has been discussed openly in the Township's Board of Commissioners meetings and the Planning Commission. Keeping this conversation behind closed doors appears to be antithetical to the school district's interests. If the school board has concerns, they should be shared with the public immediately before the Board of Commissioners makes a final decision. What are these concerns, if any, and what possible legal justification gives the school board the right to discuss them in executive session? And that's it. Looking forward to an answer.
Thank you, Ms. Sherry.
This is a very timely issue, too, so it needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
Right. So as you know, we made a motion at our last business meeting to put into writing the three major, I won't call them concerns, but major thoughts of the school district that were expressed publicly by our lawyer to the Board of Commissioners the previous week. And so that letter, which we made a motion and all voted to support, will be forthcoming.
Well, what were the issues? I didn't hear them.
I do not want to misphrase what they are because it's a legal issue, but those 3 points will be made in a letter which will be made public. And it's my hope that it'll be very, very soon because, as you know, it's happening next week. Moving on to the first item on our agenda. Do you want to speak about the Lime application? I don't know where that went.
Lime application is obviously putting lime on our fields. Over a period of time, if you do not put lime on, your soil continues to become acidic, and therefore the grass is not going to grow properly. You're going to have more weeds because the grass isn't growing properly to shade that out. And looking back, it's been at least 6 years since we've limed. So what we're going to do is the district fields have been limed, and we're just filling you in that happened. And what we'll be doing is taking soil tests next year to determine how much more lime we're going to need. So it's just kind of an FYI that it hasn't been done for a period of time, and we are going to start to continue to start soil testing and liming and putting applications on as needed.
Okay. So this is for every field at every school, is that?
It's going to be, it's the 18 acres of mostly high school fields we wanted to start with this year, but next year in the spring we want to start soil testing, spring and summer, the other fields that we have throughout the district, and we'll be addressing those as we need as well.
Okay. And who typically handles all of that, managing lime, seeding, whatever, weeding?
Well, we have our
manages that?
landscaper that we have, Green Ridge. They typically handle most of that. They contacted me this year, this fall, to see what I wanted to do, and they've been with us 6 years. They have never done it, so we don't know how far back it goes. The only thing I can definitely say is they have not done it since they've been on contract with us. And it's something that you should keep up with on a yearly or bi-yearly basis, just so your acidic level doesn't get too drastic.
So, of course, I'm going to ask, why did they not suggest that we do that?
I'm not sure. It was conversations that we were having, so I don't know what previous conversations happened in the past, if it was suggested and not done. If it wasn't suggested, that I can't speak on just because I wasn't in the
you
position.
weren't in there.
But it's something, coming from my farming background, it's something you need to do in order to keep your healthy grass and those type of things.
Okay, so they did not do any of those applications at the high school. Does that also mean they did no applications at any other school?
They have not done any applications in the entire
Anywhere?
district.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm
Okay.
glad you caught that.
Not a problem. Number 2 is lockdown drills. Just to let everybody know that our buildings will be and have been doing lockdown drills on occasion, just to make sure that the students are safe in case there is some kind of intruder or lockdown. So I just wanted everybody to know that in case their children come home and say, hey, we were locked in the classroom for a period of time today, that is the case because we are handling lockdown drills throughout the district. And if there's any issues that the administration sees that needs to be corrected as we're doing that, we would obviously tweak that and make corrections as time goes on.
And principals communicate that with their parents
Correct.
and their community when they're doing those,
Correct.
yes.
And so, I don't know if this is still the case, but we used to have a level 1 and a level 2. Do we still have those 2 different delineations and still practice both of those?
I
Do
believe
you
so,
know?
but I could not come out definitively this evening on that. But I can find that out.
And so our students, do we have a code word? Do you know anybody know how that works, either of you? Do we have a code word they say when they're going into drill and the kids know what to do, or how does that?
No, I don't believe we use code words.
I don't believe we use code
Not to my
words.
knowledge, but
Okay.
And if we do, we won't be anymore in the future. That's not a good practice.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to know a little bit more about that. I'm not putting you in the spot.
Sure, no.
If we could just
Dr.
get
Ken
back
has
to
kind of
that.
been leading, one of the people leading the charge in the district, so I'll see if he can come in next month and answer any kind of questions the committee may have regarding lockdown drills.
Yeah, I just know it's a concern. You're never going to anticipate
Sure.
the next crazy thing that could happen, but we don't want it to be here. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it would be nice just to know people are prepared.
I'm just making a note to make sure I get a hold of him.
Yeah, who was it again?
Dr. Kent,
Yeah.
over in the middle school, is one
Oh,
of
okay.
the people on the committee for the district, the safety committee. 4.3 is the Radnor Trail. Just to give an update, I will be having a meeting on December 15th with Mr. Creary. He is a landscape architect from Simone Collins, who is, I believe, a vendor of the township in order to do all this trail. So I don't have any updates. He just made contact with me. We are meeting on December 15th, and Mr. Bechtold will be at the meeting with me as well, since he knows the high school property.
Yeah, so I think this is really important because with the whole issue of what's happening across the street, we want to make sure that this project comes to fruition.
And Mr. Creary would like to come to our next finance meeting in January
Okay.
to answer any questions that the committee have. So I didn't want to say yes. I said I believe that would be okay, but I wanted to check with you
Yeah.
as chair to make sure that was okay with you, that if he comes to January's facilities meeting. to discuss-
Facilities.
Yeah, facilities
Yeah.
to discuss what's going
Yeah,
on.
I'd like it at facilities. I just think that's where it belongs. But yeah, I would love to know where it stands. I understand it's going through the township.
Right.
They've got their grant, but then I thought there was some timeline over the summer that was going to occur, and it seemed like that came and went, and then
Yes, this was the first contact I had regarding anything with the trail. I know you've asked me several times.
Right.
I didn't have any, so this was the first I had.
Okay.
And again, Mr. Courier reached out to us and said he would just like to get us up to speed on it.
Okay. So it was my understanding that we were waiting on them to get back
Correct.
to us.
Yes.
Is that
The
so
ball was in their
that's-
court,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
believe it still is,
Yeah.
unless something comes out of this meeting or the facilities meeting that we have next month.
Okay, so we don't know what the holdup is on their end.
I have no knowledge other than Mr. Mr. Curry reached out to me
Okay.
for that. 4.4 is Radnor High School stage repairs. We had our typical inspection like we do, and there was a crack in some of the structure, so we did have Pittsburgh stage come out. They actually just finished up last week, made all the repairs that we needed, made sure everything else was inspected properly. They also have taken samples from our curtains to make sure they are flame resistant as code. When we get those samples back, if there's anything we would need to do differently, if they're not up to code, then we would handle that and we'd come to this committee. But they are expecting they'll be fine, but they just want to let us know that they're doing the samples on the curtains as well.
Okay, so the stage repair, where did the funds for this come from? Was this?
I'd have to contact Michelle. It was not. It was something. Yeah, it wasn't in the budget to do. It was in the inspection was fine, but to do the repairs, we weren't expecting that. So I'm sure it's coming out of the operations budget. But because I'm not super familiar with all the different accounts of the operations budget, typically I handle this type of thing, and she figures out where it's coming out of the operations budget.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I can't answer that question.
Right, and again, not to put you on the spot, because you can't do two people's jobs or three people's jobs now, because you're doing facilities and HR and now parts of finance.
A little bit, but
But-
the business office is handling finance. But yes.
Who is really handling Michelle's piece of all of these things? Because
I don't know the specifics. I don't know if you do, but the
Wanna-
entire department is involved.
Yeah, I mean, with Michelle's, absence, the entire business department, really the point person being Penny, has worked to fill in while she has been, out. And we're anticipating, her return, hopefully this month. She's, faring well. Michelle has also been, helping and working from home as well. And so she has been a real trooper through this whole thing. We've, kept her in our thoughts for a speedy recovery, and she has been great with trying to help and support even while in her absence. But the department has been really chipping in. Yes, from the facilities standpoint, because Todd and Michelle have been working on facilities, as we, said this year, we wanted to still evaluate that and look at what direction we want to go in the future. Todd has been really picking up that portion of the facilities piece with Michelle's absence.
well, thank you again, Todd, for stepping in.
4.5, the security camera upgrades. Mr. Pacchetti and Mr. Batchelor and we were all kind of talking at some point and we had some incidents that we weren't able to capture on our cameras within the buildings. So we are upgrading the buildings for camera repairs. I'm not going to go into how many cameras or where they're located just because of security reasons, but we have been increasing coverage and will continue to increase the coverage in all the buildings. We are not complete with the project, but we have started that project.
Okay, so, so just tell me a bit more about this. Who reviews these things? Do we only review them when there's been an incident, or just
So we-
tell me a bit about how this all works?
Sure. With our security cameras, I mean, this is something that over several years we have been continually, adding cameras and continually trying to upgrade and work with. So we've had a long-term plan for trying to add additional cameras. A couple of events that we discussed with the board in the spring that took place, we realized we had, a section of a hallway that didn't have a camera that would have been helpful to have, and there was part of a plan from, earlier to eventually have those cameras added. So we've continued to not only follow that plan to add some of the cameras, and we discussed some of that in the spring with the board, but also did have an upgrade from what was it, the DV?
It was the DVR technology,
To a
and we
more-
went to NVR,
which is a clearer
which is
picture.
network. So it is a clearer picture. The principals and Mr. Pacchetti are able to view things from their computer to keep more of a an up-to-date response and actually be able to watch some of the cameras if they want to from their computer stations wherever the software is assigned. So it gets us into today's age where we can do more things with this capacity and with this technology.
And so they record 24/7, these cameras?
They are recording 24/7.
Okay.
I do not know the length of recording, if it's 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, those type of things.
Okay.
Mr. Pachetti would be able to fill me in on that.
Okay.
And we are pleased that we believe it helps with this, not only the safety of the buildings, but also, as the high school is tackling some of the concerns when we have theft, and it is helping to address some of those concerns and also address, the high school has been working hard to, as parents have presented some concerns about the increase in vaping, which I think a lot of school districts across this area are seeing. Vaping is something that's become prevalent with our students. All of these pieces are helping between the thefts and some of the other poor choices is helping us to have a deterrent and keep these things out of our schools.
And the last thing is truck replacement. We have a great mechanic staff down in the transportation building, but they came to me and said they were not able to fix one of our trucks due to the rust with the salting and the plowing over the years. The frame has just rusted out that they're no longer able to fix it safely. So we're going to have to replace that truck at some point. So we're in the process of finding out who the co-stars, who are the state bids, who those dealers are, and then we'll be approaching them at some point to try to get that truck replaced.
So just tell me a bit more about what this truck does or looks like.
Well, it's a stake body truck. It has some wooden sides on it. It is a Super Duty. It's a 2500 GM product. So it's a heavier duty truck than you would typically see your average homeowner would have. They typically would have a 1500 or a half-ton truck. This is a 3/4-ton truck. It has the plow on it, and as we disperse the guys to do snow plowing, this was one of the vehicles that they would use. And they also used it, throughout the year for stake, because it had the stake body. They could put skids of things on, or if they had to deliver tables or chairs to a building, they could use that. So we are down that truck, and we just want to try to get another one before the snow season really gets in full detail.
So how many of this type of truck do we have? Is this the only one? Or
No, we have multiple trucks to plow, obviously, but most of them have different bodies on. For like
Okay.
the electricians would have a van, so they wouldn't have a four-wheel drive to do snow plowing, so we would have one for them. Some of the HVAC guys have different bodies on, and there are other district maintenance guys have the Redding bodies that most people would see, and they're called the Redding with the utility boxes on the sides. So this was one of our stake body trucks, and again, we don't have the stake body truck in operation because we had to park it because it is in rough shape. So what we'll do is we'll try to get some value for that, either on a trade-in or however Michelle would like to dispose of it.
okay.
It's rusting and the engine is ready to go. The mechanics believe one of the valves is going within it, and the lead mechanic over there I went over, he crawled under it, he was showing me things, and he just doesn't feel that the engine's going to last, number one, and number two, with the body of the frame being that rusted, he just cannot patch it for safety.
Okay.
So we were not anticipating that, but things happen.
And what do you anticipate the expenditure on that?
To get a good heavy duty, you're probably going to be looking at $50,000 to $60,000.
Okay. And that you need that for this winter?
We should have that for this winter, yes.
Okay.
So we're hoping to get some good deals at the end of the calendar year this month that the dealerships would want to try to push them out the door. So next week we'll start looking for that.
Okay, so this is going to be on our business agenda, or how does this work, this piece?
I'd have to talk to Michelle how she exactly does it because it is on the bidding, the state bidding. So
Okay.
typically we would not have to put that on,
Okay.
from my understanding. But again, she handles all that, so I would want to clear it through her.
All right.
And that's all I have.
Any new business from Superintendent? Okay. Yeah, any other comments from my colleagues? Okay. That brings us to the last item on our agenda. Is there any public comment at this time? Oh, you just turned off.
Roberta Winters, 326 Williams Road, and I just wanted to mention that to Todd that it might be helpful when you meet with the township, or if you do have that occasion to do so, to talk to them about how they fed our grass over the years. I know we had a long-standing contract with the township, and they provided a lot of the groundskeeping of our fields, and they may have had some things that might be appropriate for you to know. Also, I know because of recent legislation in Harrisburg that the township also has to do a lot of compliance with things like stormwater and erosion and sediment plans. And I think it would be important to seek their counsel regarding the application of lime on our fields, which eventually probably washes someplace. And if it goes into our creeks and streams and they're getting readings that are going to be detrimental to our township, that might be something that you might need to be aware of. Finally, I would like to ask if you'd like to mention the age of that truck, it might be helpful. I know sometimes certain trucks go faster than others, and sometimes we need to make sure that we're getting the most bang for our buck. Finally, I would like to just restate that, transparency and openness is important in all of our ongoing policy and decision making, and taxpayers and residents throughout the community are involved in many of the rezoning issues and planning of development in our township. And it's a very political and very divisive issue. I do not need to say that. And I think the more open and the more transparent we can be, perhaps it's in the best interest of everyone in all of our residents, because it impacts across the district. And there are issues such as we look at things in our township, even things like busing, in terms of school start times, in terms of all those things, they have a domino effect, as you well know. What happens at Villanova has an effect of what happens at our high school, which happens at Radnor Elementary School. So it's a very complex situation. I think the more we can provide information to the public about our concerns as educators as well as residents can only be helpful to the process. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Roberta.
Cindy Spurtle, Wayne. Thank you for the information that was given, but we didn't hear any cost estimates, Todd. I know you're not on the finance side of the facilities, but any cost implication on the Lime applications? Are you going out for bid, or? I think I heard something like that. Security camera upgrades, as I stated, there wasn't any security improvement or any security system improvements listed on our capital plan, and it seems to make sense that you were reviewing them, and there is a possibility that additional cameras would be added. But my question is, should there be something put into our capital improvement 5-year plan that every so many years this amount of money is allocated to upgrade the security system, knowing how quickly technology changes? It appears that there's a truck replacement budgeted for 18-19 of $45,000, which may about be what the cost of that new truck is for plowing. And my guess is it would be borrowed from 18-19, pushed into 17-18 is the concern. Once more, I just want to reiterate that the disappointment that we don't have a letter put together by the board to be presented to the commissioners, and for the public to hear and to be able to discuss also before this big meeting on December 11th. It seems to me that since the 3 items of importance already are known, that this is something that could have been presented to the public in time for the meeting on Monday, And also, how are you going to notify the public? This is something that should possibly be on the front page of something that the public knows what's happening or how the school board stands on this major decision that's going to be coming on Monday, December 11th.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we will adjourn our Facilities Committee meeting for December. And our next meeting will be January, and it will be a reconfigured committee with new members. Thank you.